Hello, everybody, and welcome to our latest community event here at Zendesk. This is preparing for a seamless upgrade to the Agent Workspace. We've got some great info for you here today. Let's see who we got on deck to speak to us today on the next slide here. So we're very happy to have a very special guest with us here today, Brad Harris. Thank you for joining us. Brad Harris is the Global Customer Support Director from Bitly, one of our customers. He's going to be talking about their experience adopting Agent Workspace and using it. And we've got JJ Miklat from our product team here. He's a group product manager here at Zendesk. He's going to be talking about some, well, actually, go ahead and go to the next slide. He's going to be talking about some highlights of the Agent Workspace and what's new. Then we'll hear from Brad and his experience. And then we'll be back to JJ for some more useful resources before we get to some Q&A. I'm Dave Dyson. I'm Community Engagement Manager here at Zendesk and your host for many of these events. A few points before we go. Yes, this event will be recorded and we'll share a link out with you, usually by the end of the week or early next week is when we get those links out. The link will contain, the email that you get will contain a link to the recording of the event. It will also contain all of any links that we share, information, documentation, that sort of thing. You'll have all of that stuff, so don't worry if you miss any of that today. And it will have a summary of all the Q&A that we do, the questions that come up and those that we answer there. Speaking of questions, if you want to ask questions during the event, we highly encourage that. We love your questions. Note that over in the chat window where you've been putting where you're dialing in from. I'm old. Nobody's using a dial phone, I think, at this point. But there is a Q&A tab, and if you click over there, that is the place to ask questions. Luke, I see you already asked a question there. Excellent work getting us started there. Asking your questions in the Q&A part makes it easy for us to tell which questions we've answered and which ones we haven't. If you ask them in the chat, they can scroll away and we might miss them. We don't want to do that. So if you do ask a question in the Q&A, in the general chat area, we may gently nudge you over to Q&A and to ask your questions there. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand things over to JJ. JJ, just tell us what's going on with Agent Workspace.
Sure, Dave. So hey everyone, I'm JJ, product manager, one of the product managers for Agent Workspace. And let's be real, like CX is a rewarding job, but it's like pretty damn hard. With the current economic climate, customer support teams are navigating lots of uncertainty while customer demands are still on the rise. A lot of companies are reporting that customers are less patient with customer service, and customers are expecting businesses to be readily available at any communication channel, whether that be chat, messaging, WhatsApp, Line, Facebook, WeChat, etc. The amount of channels are endless. And we know that the majority of teams still don't feel empowered to do their jobs well. So, next slide, please, Dave. And that's why we're continuing to invest in Agent Workspace, our primary user interface for ticketing at Zendesk. To allow teams to manage all their conversations, regardless of channel, from just one single place. It puts the customer context, the AI-powered intelligence, collaboration tooling at their fingertips, and it gives teams the flexibility they need to customize their workspace based on their specific needs. So let's go over some of the biggest changes with Agent Workspace. Agents could handle conversations from all channels in a single interface, eliminating the need to go back and forth amongst multiple interfaces to provide CX to your customers. Agents are able to stay in touch with their customers on whatever channel their customers are on, or whatever channel the customer ends up moving to. The composer and the convo log look a little bit different. So comments are now composed at the bottom of the ticket interface for all channels, and agents could switch channels during a conversation to respond to customers on their preferred channel or wherever their customers go. On the context panel located on the right-hand side of the interface has customer context, AI-powered insights, not the knowledge section, which is our native guide integration. It's going to be the new home for side conversations, which is coming soon. And of course, your beloved apps. Next slide, please. Sorry, one more slide back, sorry. And like, it doesn't stop there. We're continuing to double down our investment in Agent Workspace. We've launched new AI capabilities that allow customers to automatically classify conversations based on the customer intent in language. And we've seen that it allows agents to save up to 60 seconds per request. The next month, we're making omni-channel routing and real-time reporting generally available to ensure agents are productive across all the CX channels that you service on. And the Zendesk UI has always been a little static, right? Ticket fields on the left, conversation pane in the middle, and apps on the right. So next slide, please. So in 2023, we'll be rolling out this drag and drop functionality for admins to fully customize the layout of your workspace for your agents. Like if you want to put the conversation panel on the left, or one of your apps front and center, or if you want to put ticket fields on the bottom right, all dependent on your preferences and workflows, and the permutations and combinations are endless. Think of it like a mini Squarespace for your Zendesk. So these are just some of the many additions, and any net new functionality that Zendesk adds to support in the past, present, and future will only be live on Agent Workspace. Like features like messaging, flow builder, custom ticket statuses, and many more. So we've built Agent Workspace so that your agents could provide the best customer service for your customers. We know that transitions are not always easy, and there are many stakeholders involved in your company. There's many different priorities, and sometimes there's always resistance to change. So we have a lot of resources prepared that I'll be sharing over shortly. But first, I'm excited to host one of our longtime Zendesk customers, Bitly, with their global customer support director, Brad Harris, and let them share their Agent Workspace experience with you and give us all some advice on how they successfully made their transition in the past. So the mic is yours, Brad.
Well, thanks, JJ. Have all this stuff prepared, but then you drop this workspace editing sneak peek on me, and now all I can think of is how I want to get that set up. So, all right. Thank you for that. I appreciate the warm welcome. Hi, everybody. As I mentioned, my name is Brad Harris. I'm the Global Customer Support Director at Bitly. Let's go jump over to the next slide. So, a little bit about Bitly, our support structure, where we were, where we're at. So Bitly was founded in 2008. It's a URL shortening service and link management platform. So one of the big changes that we've had in the recent year is back in December, we acquired Ego Detour, which is QRCodeGenerator.com. It's practically the world's leading QR code platform. You know, when you start working at companies like this, you start seeing Bitly and QR codes everywhere more and more, especially in the last couple of years. So it's fun running into those things and see how much influence and how Bitly URLs and QR codes are all over the place, whether we see them or not. We have been a Zendesk customer since 2016, and you know, the early roots for Bitly kind of started in those Twitter days where it was the default URL shortener, but then Twitter went off and did their own, and Bitly broke out into a full separate platform. So you know, we handle you know, customers of all different sizes, individual users, free users, all the way up to enterprise, which is why Zendesk was kind of that first choice for us to use. It handles all of those types of customers and that range with ease. Our efforts this year have really been to globalize our support offerings and stay ahead of technology integration efforts with the QR code generator platform. And stay ahead of that on the support side. With an EU-based company being brought into the fold, it was extremely important to us that we extended, you know, the Bitly warm welcome and inclusive company culture to everybody. Our job in support was to make sure that we started off that effort by consolidating support platforms, right? We brought them over. They were originally using Intercom, and we brought them over to Zendesk, and now we share the same Zendesk instance with multi-brand. We now have completed that phase, and we get to focus on things like continued growth, right? Cross-training our agents on both products, so we have a wider support offering, expanding our self-service offerings, improving training and enablement programs, and then exploring new and smart channels to be able to scale easily with our rapidly growing customer base. You can see some of the points on the side here. We're still dealing with two separate products, two types of platforms, and they come with their own types of tickets. Our link management platform, typically we get a lower volume on a monthly basis, but it is on the more complicated side, a little bit more technical. Takes a little bit more human interaction with these tickets, whereas our QR code generator tickets, we're looking at 20 to 30,000 tickets a month, which is a real opportunity to both try to automate some of that functionality and really put that focus on the team for tickets that require human interaction. But what's really important to us is making sure that they are as effective as they possibly can. Or when there's any sort of interruption in an agent's workflow, it can slow them down and it can start to cascade. So when you're dealing with a batch of tickets in a month that big, any sort of improvement that we can make to our agents' lives will go a long, long way. We have a mix of full agents, whether they're in support. We've got our finance team that's using Zendesk. Our content team is starting to expand their usage on Guide and with a lot of the help center functionality. And then we've got a ton of people, a good portion of our Bitly Bitizens, which is what we call our internal family at Bitly. We've got a ton of light agents. So there's folks that have access to tickets and help center articles and those sorts of things that really help us out on a daily basis. We're spread out all over the world. We've got folks in Germany, in Italy, in Brazil, in Costa Rica, New York, California, India, all over the place. So we need to support 6 languages. And we do have a mix with those folks, a mix of those full-time and contracted agents. Let's jump to that next slide. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about too is really just talking about the experience that we had when we moved to our Agent Workspace. So when we brought over our team from the QR code generator group, moving them from Intercom to Zendesk, we set up the agent interface for them before they joined. So they were kind of born into that world because we wanted to make sure it was as efficient for them as possible when they migrated into Zendesk. We had an existing team that had been living in Zendesk since 2016. And, we wanted to make sure that they also had that time to learn and to grow and take advantage of this Agent Workspace functionality, but then prepare them for what changes might come. So talking through some of the challenges that we had, when we were integrating our QR code team into Zendesk, it's really important to understand the different requirements for that team and how that product is supported. Every team and every product and every company is going to handle their workflow differently. So it was really important we didn't just shove a square peg into a round hole. We wanted to make sure that we had their functionality that they were used to as closely represented in Zendesk as we could, while also utilizing that enhanced support functionality within Zendesk. So the Agent Workspace was kind of a no-brainer. One of the functionalities is being able to have contextual workspaces. So if you are on the QR code team, your agent interface can look different than the link management team, depending on who you are, what you're signed into, what groups you belong to within Zendesk. you can have a different look and feel, and certain functions like these bullets here. The QR code team has about 800 macros and growing. The link management team is probably in the 150 zone. So we don't need to have those mixed up. We want to be able to completely separate those so that the agents know exactly where to go for the information that they need. They've got different sets of apps. And one of the things that we really needed to consider is GDPR compliance and visibility. We need to make sure that only this app and the information that's presented in this app, this third-party app, is only visible to our QR code team and not to the rest of the company. We needed to make sure that one team had one form, the other team has 5. We don't need the agents to have to pick and choose which form they're submitting or they're updating their ticket for. We need to, especially when you're dealing with almost 30,000 tickets a month, you need to be able to know exactly where to go, what to click, and move on to that next ticket. So being able to set those apart and set up each team for success for the most efficient workflow was one of the top challenges that we had to face. When we were actually upgrading, I was talking to the folks at Zendesk when about this meeting. I said, I'm actually lucky. Our team is really quick and very flexible, and there was very little drama or difficulty moving to the Agent Workspace. The team was actually really excited to try new things, and I know that's not always the case. I've worked in other roles where you kind of have to pull some folks kicking and screaming into a new tool or process, and it wasn't that case for the workspace. The incoming team needed additional functionality, and this is really how we gave it to them. Right? We trained the inbound team with the Agent Workspace from the start. This is what they were trained on. This is what they expected to see when they moved over, and that's what they got. The existing team only needed a short demo, some time to click around. Right here, I linked the about the Zendesk Agent Workspace, which is a great support article that Zendesk had put together that really kind of broke down what would be changing, where things are going, and where your favorite item is moving on the interface. And then really, one of the big things that could throw people for a loop is moving that conversation field from the top down to the bottom, right? Your input, your public comment or your internal note, you're used to it all the ways at the top. You've been working on it since 2016, and suddenly it's up on the bottom. I just told them, hey guys, why don't you go take a look at Slack and your iMessage and every other communication app that you have, and tell me where that chat window's at. So it was a quick way to sell them on that, and then just say, we're now kind of standardizing that within all of our communication apps. The impact was pretty significant for our team. As I mentioned, high volume of tickets, any sort of interruption, any sort of slowdown can really build up a backlog. So the ramp up for our inbound team from the QR code team was drastically reduced. We were expecting it to take maybe 2 months for them to get back to their standard pace, their previous pace. We were able to get to that. I would even say, within the first 3-4 weeks, they were knocking out the same volume of tickets, if not more, than they had previously. With the Agent Workspace, and I think JJ mentioned this when he showed the sneak peek. All of the new features and functions and all of that stuff is going to be part of the Agent Workspace. So if we wanted to kind of keep up with the new functions and features, we needed to make sure that we were fully adopted into that new UI. And then when having the team kind of have that nimble mindset where things could tweak or change at any time, as long as we have that training and a heads up, then they're more prepared for any sort of adoption of new processes and features as it comes along. Yeah, and then just our overall agent smile count went up significantly. Not something we track; it's just something I see in our one-on-ones, but it means a lot to all of us. Let's go to that next slide. All right, that's it for me. I think this is where we hand it back to JJ. Is that right? Or Dave, you want to take it?
Yeah, no, we'll hand it back to JJ and everyone. If you've got questions for Brad, you go ahead and you can ask those in the Q&A tab as well, and we'll see if he can answer those as well. But yeah, let's back to you, JJ.
Cool. All right, let me respond to one more question. Okay. Also, yeah, I think I'm the only one here besides Brad responding to questions. So feel free to stick around after the event, and I'll answer your question directly. So thanks for your patience. Let's see. Okay, cool. All right. Thanks, Brad, for sharing your story and experience with us. And similar to Bitly, with Agent Workspace, everyone could empower their agents with a unified and easy-to-use workspace to solve customer issues more efficiently. Like already the majority of Zendesk customers are already leveraging the benefits of Agent Workspace. They see faster response times, or FRT, and faster request resolutions, or TTR. Next slide, please. So we're almost there. Before you upgrade, we want to ensure that you're prepared and know what to expect. So our wonderful team has put together some resources so that you could experience a seamless transition. And I believe Dave will be sharing these out to folks by email after the event, I believe. So Agent Workspace change management resources include 3 YouTube videos that provide step-by-step guidelines to help you prepare for the move, make a plan for the move, and then testing Agent Workspace and actually making the upgrade. Our project tracker allows you to make sure you're on track with all the steps you need to take during the process. And finally, the template kit provides you with the guidance to understand the impact of the changes and guidance on how to communicate the changes with your teams. We also have training resources that will allow your teams to prepare and learn the changes with a side-by-side comparison of the old UI versus the new UI. We also recommend getting familiar with Agent Workspace yourself just to understand how it works and see for yourself how it can improve agent efficiency and provide great customer experiences with the interactive tour, which is available for both agents and admins. And finally, there's our Help Center article, which covers all of our resources to support your upgrade journey. You can also try Agent Workspace on a sandbox if you have access to that, or you could also open up a new trial account just to try out Agent Workspace, poke around, play around. And so yeah, that wraps up my spiel. Thank you to everyone for attending, listening, and asking questions. I'll get to them. Speaking of which, I'll pass it over to Dave to head up the live Q&A.
All right. Sure. Yeah. And we've got a question. We do have a question for Brad here. Brad, did you guys use a staging environment for your demo, or was this a get acquainted afterwards after you cut over to the Agent Workspace?
People that work with me know that I like to just do things live. I like to work in production environments. So, and I have used Zendesk long enough that I've got a lot of trust in the platform. So hasn't failed me yet. But I definitely wanted to make sure this was as clean and seamless process as possible. So we spun up the Zendesk sandbox environment and made sure that we had some materials kind of prepped in there for them to kind of click around and use. But it was really just, might have been, okay, I'll check it out. They were in there for about an hour. They got used to it. We did a demo and a training, and that was enough to kind of get them to say, okay, I know where things are. I'm good to go.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad. All right, let's go to our first pre-submitted question. Thanks for those of you who sent us questions when you registered, and here's some of those. So is upgrading to the Agent Workspace required? Is it mandatory?
JJ, do you want to take that one? I can jump on that if you like.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's not mandatory, but it is coming, right? It is something that we needed to make sure that we were set up and trained in the Agent Workspace as early as possible, so that we could take advantage of those new functions and features as they come along. So just like most things, at a certain point, new UIs become, instead of an option, they become the norm. And so we wanted to make sure we were prepared and trained up ahead of that, so that there was no sort of interruption of function once that came out.
Great answer, Brad. And let me expand on that a little bit for the rest of Zendesk strategy. So eventually, is upgrading to Agent Workspace required? Eventually, for everyone, yes. Our engineering teams are currently managing 2 interfaces at the moment, the older Workspace and Agent Workspace, and we're putting all our investment into Agent Workspace. So customers today could upgrade to Agent Workspace on their own at any point in time, but we'll also be auto-activating, or basically like force migrating customers little by little. We started that auto-activation process earlier in the year. We found that around 98% of customers are satisfied with the new experience. But if you get auto-activated and you don't like it, you could reach out to the support team and they'll deactivate it for you. Like, no hassle, no questions. Also with the chat feature parity gap, which I believe someone brought up on the Q&A. Agent Workspace has tons of advantages over the older experience. But if you are a customer with chat, there is still some features in the older experience that are still being ported over to work in Agent Workspace, like proactive messaging, banning end users, chat data locality. So if you're a customer that has chat and you really need these, we will not be auto-activating your account over to Agent Workspace until these feature parity gaps are shored up and fixed, so that you could have all the features that you had in the older experience in the benefits of Agent Workspace.
Awesome. Thanks, JJ, and thanks, Brad. Let's go to the next question. If we're not utilizing Zendesk's chat tool, what are the main changes our agents will expect with the UI change? Anything else to mention for those who do not use the native chat feature?
Yeah, so Agent Workspace lets you switch channels between email, social messaging, or telephony. In case you want to add chat or messaging, you can switch channels between those as well, just to meet your customers wherever they go. The composer, the space where agents write comments, is now under the conversation log instead of above it. However, as mentioned on the Q&A, we're looking to introduce the ability for admins to fully customize where exactly their composer goes through Layout Builder, which I gave a sneak peek for earlier, right? Where should the composer go? Top, side, bottom, not exist for some reason, anywhere. In Agent Workspace, messages are ordered from oldest to newest instead of newest to oldest. Agent Workspace integrates directly with Guide via the knowledge section in the context panel. So you can see Guide articles alongside your support tickets. Native redaction functionality is only found on Agent Workspace. As mentioned earlier, any net new functionality is only being built on Agent Workspace, like omni-channel routing and reporting.
Awesome. Thanks, JJ. Brad, a couple of questions for you that have come in. One, a really quick question. Do you use live chat at Bitly?
Not yet. It is a channel that we're exploring for 2023. But with live chat, we've also got to make sure that we've got the appropriate staffing and training set up for that. But it is definitely an avenue that we're looking at. And are you looking at? Sorry, yeah. And are you looking at live chat or messaging or any one of those specifically? We're looking at specifically right now. The target is what kind of automation can we utilize? Like, what's going to give us the best chance at proactively answering our customers' information before getting a human involved. So I think the first step of the strategy is kind of live chat, or not live chat, sorry, chat bot sort of messaging automation, and then falling back into a live chat if that's not resolved, and then into a ticket if need be.
Gotcha. Thank you. And then the other question is a bit of a multi-part, so let me give that to you. Have you gotten any feedback from your light agents that only receive and send ticket updates via email for their transition to Agent Workspace? Do they like Agent Workspace better or worse, or is it the same for them? And do you collaborate much with colleagues outside of your support team, I assume, and is that better with Agent Workspace?
Yeah. So first part of the question with the light agents, to my experience, there's been no difference there, right? I think one of the things, JJ, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the CCs and followers function is only available in Agent Workspace. So being able to have our light agents added as followers as opposed to CCs into a ticket is very helpful for visibility. But as far as communication via email for those light agents that are looped into a conversation, there's been no disruption of process for them. The second part, remind me, it's communicating with others, right?
Yeah, just collaboration with others, with other folks.
Yeah, so we've actually at Bitly, which is different than some of the other organizations that I've worked at that have used Zendesk and Agent Workspace and side conversations. Bitly's kind of got it worked out. I did a lot of the dirty work before I started too, which was great. You know, they the folks that need to be involved and have the conversations with folks to resolve an issue are typically handled right there within the ticket. So we can escalate from our level 1, 2, 3, and then once it goes outside of or beyond our level 3, then we have our Jira integration and we escalate a ticket to Jira, let our engineering, product, and development teams kind of handle that there, and then trickle back. So we have set up rules in that the integration where actions on the Jira ticket will affect the Zendesk ticket. I think one of the next ways we want to kind of increase that communication outside of support is with Slack. The company lives on Slack. So we want to be able to push meaningful information from Zendesk into Slack and then maybe get a little bit back in, but that's kind of a larger strategy. But beyond that, it typically stays within that Zendesk workflow.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Brad. All right, so next question, next slide here. How long did the upgrade take, and was there any indication when it was complete? I think this is for you, Brad. What happens if there's an agent logged in and what happens if there's an agent logged into Zendesk at that moment when you switch over to Agent Workspace?
Yeah, there's a couple ways to kind of approach that, right? How long did the upgrade take can really be how long did we prepare the team, communicate with the team, set up those workspaces. As I mentioned, we used spaces for our link management team and for our QR code generator team, right? That process for setting up those contextual workspaces was about an hour, right? Just like most things in Zendesk, it's drag and drop. It's, I want these apps, I don't want these, and then you're good to go with that. When it comes to training the team and getting them prepared for that upgrade, as I mentioned previously, I've got a really nimble team that was able to kind of adapt to it for the existing team, adapt to it quite quickly. It took a little bit longer for the inbound team because they are coming from a completely different platform, but they were learning agent interface by default. And then when we actually flipped the switch, it was near instantaneous. We clicked through the buttons. We found a time of day that was the least amount of inbound tickets. So I believe it was like a 9 p.m. Pacific. And we did it on a Thursday evening so that we had Friday to kind of squash any bugs or iron out any kinks in our process and let the team kind of poke around and break it. But when we went to click that button, it was practically instantaneous. And if there was an agent that happened to be logged in at that time, all they would need to do is click the refresh button and they're on the new interface. No interruption.
Awesome. I see the question in the chat: is Bitly required for Agent Workspace upgrade? I don't think that's true. Although Bitly's great, we definitely use it, so it's got my recommendation. But it's not, you don't have to be a Bitly customer in order to upgrade to Agent Workspace. All right. So and I think if there's an agent logged in when you switch over, I think they would just need to refresh their page to see the new Agent Workspace, right?
Yeah. So Bitly was not an anomaly. Just like Bitly, on average, most customers end up taking 1 to 2 weeks of training their agents before making the move. But during the actual upgrade process, like if you have chat, if you do not have chat, once you push that upgrade button, it will be instantaneous. Like for any of your agents logged in during the process, they would just see a tooltip on the top right corner of the UI, letting them know to refresh their browser to see Agent Workspace. But if a customer does have chat, then there's this process where Zendesk merges your support groups and chat departments together. So for 95% of the customers, we've seen this process take up to 5 minutes, but some, if you're unlucky, could take longer. Also, if you have any ongoing live chats when Agent Workspace is activated, they will be ended. So if you have chat, do schedule a maintenance window when your agents cease all live chat operations for a couple minutes.
Awesome. Thanks, JJ. Next question. How many people do you think are needed to make the move to the Agent Workspace? Is this a job that one person can do?
One person. I mean, you will need the effort of your entire team to just scroll up and click that refresh button once it's done, but it's just one person, couple clicks, and good to go.
Yeah, and I guess if you're doing some formal training with the team, if you're going to do a presentation, then it's like, well, how big is your team and where are they, and do you have a training group within? If you have a massive support organization, maybe you have a training team to do that. But if you have a small team, it's probably one person, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Next question, unless JJ, unless you have anything to add there. Okay. Next question. Did you have a training event for all the groups in your instance?
Yeah. We had training sessions in different flavors. I think I neglected our finance team a little bit, but they were pretty quick. Both teams, as kind of alluded to, we had it was a little bit more training for the inbound team. We had shadow sessions with our existing agents. So they each had some exposure both to the product for future cross-product training, but then just overall Zendesk usage, how they went about their day using the platform. And then for the existing team, I had spun up the sandbox, clicked through that for a little bit, prepared for that migration, and then provided articles, read this article ahead of time so that when we talk about it, nothing's like brand new. And then gave a couple, short demos. And then really, because we made that switch on a Thursday evening, they had all day Friday to poke holes or ask questions. It was pretty simple.
Awesome. Brad, we got another question for you. What precaution, so I'm just going to read it as it is here. What precaution, Brad, have you taken before the move to Agent Workspace, apart from training? I can understand you're using email communication only. How did you explain the omni-channel? Is Agent Workspace mostly dedicated to omni-channel when your team is using email only? How did you justify to the business, I think, that this is more flexible or better than the last one? Does that?
Yeah. So a couple parts to that. Very fortunate that this business is very open to, we hired the right people to make these decisions. So it really came down to our decision to make that switch. And really the difference between the previous UI and then the Agent Workspace is, aside from it looking kind of cleaner, more modern, some of the items moving around, it's by and large kind of the same functionality, the same things, and it opens up new avenues. Do you have to use omni-channel? No, right? We have our ticket center or ticket portal through the help center. We've got direct emails. We're exploring other channels down the road. We are plugged into social as well. But for the most part, when we're looking at that section of the UI for, customer history and their previous actions, Really, it's just a glance to see if they've submitted other tickets that might be duplicates that we have to merge. So it is not a requirement, and it is not not being omni-channel has not been prohibitive to moving to the Agent Workspace.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad. And
Yeah.
thanks for that question. Let's go to the next question here. What are the workflow changes agents have had the most difficult time transitioning between? And what are the biggest challenges to admin management that admins will need to learn?
Yeah, to be honest, there wasn't a whole lot of difficulty for the team themselves. So they had really just needed to find the new places where some of their favorite items had moved. And then once they all understood the differences, it kind of just made sense, right? Looking at customer ticket history or interactions, the knowledge capture app versus the knowledge pane. The apps were mostly the same. It's kind of the flipping of the comment field to the bottom and the ticket history up were the only workflow changes that they had to kind of pause, and it took about a week for them to really just get it locked in, and then on they go. But for admins, it's really you still want to make sure, like, let's talk about macros, right? We've got a monster load of macros, and we want to make sure that they are separate between the teams. We only need visibility to the 800 macros for one team, and then the 150, 200 macros for the other. We wanted to make sure that there was no question as to who sees what in which interface or which contextual workspace. So it was a little bit of going in there and making sure that my macros are still assigned to the appropriate groups within the macro settings. But then when you are in the Agent Workspace and the contextual workspace builder, you're selecting which those same sets of macros to only be visible to this team. Beyond that, it was, the forms all work similarly. The app visibility all works similarly. So there wasn't a whole lot new to learn.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad. Another question for you. Did you run into any issues with reporting when transitioning to Agent Workspace? And if so, what workarounds did you implement there?
Not necessarily. So with reporting, it's pretty much all the same for us, right? We have everything kind of segmented down, brand to group to agent and forms. So to be honest, I can't recall anything that I had to do in reporting to kind of make sure that it worked for Workspace. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I imagine if you're an organization that does have chat, where if you do have live chat where transitioning to Agent Workspace is going to merge the chat departments and agent groups and support, then that might affect your reporting. Does that sound right, JJ? Or sorry, JJ, you're probably answering other questions in the chat. Poor JJ is multitasking here, answering questions by typing and also paying attention to these. So
sorry, I had no idea what you said, Dave.
Yeah, let's go to the next question then. What do you wish you knew or prepared for if you could go back and roll out Agent Workspace again?
Yeah, oh man. I'd have to really dig for an answer on this one, because Zendesk has always done a really great job of providing materials and instructions in preparation for changes like this. So, once I found those materials and we worked through them with the team, everything went really smoothly. I don't know if it could have gone smoother in this instance. Again, we may not be an anomaly, but it is it's pretty straightforward.
Awesome.
Yeah,
always glad to hear that. Next question. What are some examples of workflows that have improved through, after the change to Agent Workspace?
Yeah, so with our workflows, definitely the ability to kind of quickly identify any missing information from our customers and being able to see the customer's recent history. As I mentioned before, being able to see if there may be duplicate tickets on the same subject, making sure we don't have two agents answering the same question in different ways, right? We want to make sure we're consolidating that. And it's easier to now find that information with the customer history. And then just really being able to narrow down what's most important handling that ticket. That I think, again, with the volume of tickets, every second, every click counts. And if we can get all the stuff that doesn't matter to them out of their site so that they can only focus on what it is that they need to see or they need per ticket is extremely important. So being able to streamline that for them has been the biggest improvement for their workflow.
Awesome. Thank you. And we've got one more question here in our slides. How do you capture work time for your agents? What reports do you use to track productivity?
We kind of, our big SLAs, our functionality is really in our first response times, our full resolution times, and then our CSAT, right? So those are the top drivers for us. When we're capturing work time for the agents, we have the time tracker app installed with the necessary triggers. But with the way that we've built these workflows for the team, leaves very little room for kind of any sort of anomaly for too much time being spent on one or not enough time being spent on another type of ticket, or one person taking less of a workload. So we simply track those standard kind of KPIs. We'll use the pre-built Zendesk support dashboard to track their productivity kind of as a high level, but we've built some custom dashboards with those KPIs in mind. One of the things that we really, especially for the QR code team, a monster amount of tickets. So it's already a large workload or volume of tickets, and 80 to 90% of those tickets are one-touch solves. So we look at how many tickets were resolved with one touch, and then we look at the backlog against that too, to see how productive they are with these new workflows, these new changes that we're making in the interface. And then we make those little small tweaks on top of that to see if we can make anything, shave off some friction and improve their numbers. But those are our top focuses.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad. And then one more question here. Yeah, what are the areas of feature parity within the Agent Workspace that you're currently working to address? I think, JJ, this might be as much for you.
Yep. So in regards to feature parity, Agent Workspace has tons of advantages over the older experience. But as I mentioned earlier, if you are a customer of chat, there are still some features in the older experience that are currently being ported over to work in Agent Workspace, like proactive messaging, banning end users, chat data locality, and several others. So if you're a customer that has chat, you won't be auto-activating your account over to Agent Workspace until these feature parity gaps are shored up, so that you could have all the features you had in the older experience and more. For stuff like agent-to-agent chat, that could be accomplished using internal notes. So we have this thing called, as you know, internal notes, where agents could talk to each other during a live chat. So there's stuff like that. And to the previous question too, about how do you capture work time for agents, and what reports do you use to track productivity. So there's a handful of free and paid support apps available to download in the Zendesk app marketplace for workforce management purposes and just general agent productivity tracking, like the time tracking app, the time shift app, agile time app, amongst a handful of others. So do give those a try to meet your WFM needs.
Awesome. Let's see. Okay.
Sorry,
so we've got some more questions. Oh, sorry. Did you have more?
For this question, for the feature parity app, we're targeting, no hard promises, but we're shooting to have all major chat feature parity apps hopefully fixed by end of Q2 of next year, so that the chat experience will be in parity with the older experience with Agent Workspace. So
awesome. And I know there was a question around the EOL of the older workspace. Did we have a target date for that? Which I think obviously wouldn't come before chat feature parity, right?
Yeah, I mean, we won't EOL the older workspace until 100% of our customers are over onto Agent Workspace. So yeah, no set date for that, but it'll come eventually.
Awesome. So a question from the chat here, and we've touched on this just a little bit, but they have a specific kind of question around reporting. So they say, we track the number of tickets plus the number of chats that our agents touch in an hour. Would that change if they move over from chat to messaging? And is this something that we can answer ourselves, or JJ, or is this more of a reporting analytics question?
More of a reporting analytics question, but
okay.
Yeah, we'll follow up by email once
awesome.
we chase down the PMs that focus on reporting.
Awesome. And another question here: will the incremental export API change in any kind of breaking change way when moving over to Agent Workspace? This customer has a data integration that depends on that.
In regards to the incremental export API specifically, we haven't heard of any breaking changes from our customers so far.
Awesome.
So it should be fine there.
Cool. All right. So thank you so much for all of your questions. I know there's some from the chat that we haven't got to live here, but we'll try to address those in the follow-up email. And there's a few things we want to let you know about coming up soon. Let's go to the next slide here. So we've got an EX moment. This is a Zendesk event, kind of webinar series. This one is featuring the Senior Director of Client Success at Modern Health, and Sarah Reed, our fantastic Senior Director of Strategic Events here at Zendesk. We encourage you to check that out. Those are always good and very informative. Next up, we're very excited for this quarter's What's New, and it's combined with Community Day. So you're going to hear about all kinds of great new stuff coming up in Zendesk, and also we're going to have our annual community awards that we started doing last year. So we'll be honoring some folks from the community who've done great work, as well as some live PM kind of talkback sessions where you can talk to product managers, and then some networking sessions as well. So we're really looking forward to that. We hope you sign up and check that out. And then finally, we want to highlight our user groups. These are user-led user groups that we're getting ready to roll out here. And go to usergroups.zendesk.com to check those out. These are like, if you are interested in leading a group of people that are in your same industry, so you can talk to each other about your experiences using Zendesk, or if you're in a particular region and you want to connect with other people locally there, this is an opportunity to do that. And we'll be talking more about this at Community Day, but definitely go check out the user groups. We've got some folks who've signed up to lead some of those already, and we're definitely looking to add more over the next year. So definitely check that out. And thank you so much, everybody, for attending. Brad, thank you so much for joining us here today. It's so great to hear from someone who's actually gone through this experience live. From the customer point of view, your information was super helpful. Thank you for answering all those questions. And JJ, thanks for doing double duty. I know usually we've got other people, more people in the chat typing answers there, and you were kind of doing both there. So thanks for all the information that you provided here. Folks, stay tuned for our, keep your eyes out for our next events coming up. And hopefully we'll see you at What's New and Community Day, and have a great rest of your day. Look for the links to the recording and the answers and things like that. That'll be coming out in a few days. Brad, Thanks again. JJ, thanks again. Bye, everybody.